Okay, we're gonna start. So basically, SKT is running a very similar composition to what they had last time. Jin Air reacts with a less bursty champion, but one that's more of a late game carry, which I think is very good. Plus, it gives them, they have really good kill pressure with Annie and Maokai in the side lanes, and they've got ways to bottle people up for big ults from these three. SKT again is just going to play a scaling game, and maybe they can get lucky and get some damage down and get a kill in the laning phase. Vlad is strong because he amps damage with Hemoplague, and he's super safe, and he's really, really tanky and annoying to deal with. Very, very safe farming mid laners. That's what Faker's been playing, Anivia and Vlad. But Vlad is not great against Jarvan, because if he doesn't have Flash, he can't get out of Cataclysm. So let's talk about this start from Jin Air, because this is really smart. So they get a lane swap down, right? Graves freezes the lane. So right now, the fact that, watch what they do, because this is very intelligent. So Annie's here helping Maokai with the wolves. And we see Chaser starting red. And Faker's playing very aggressively right here. He always does this. This is a really great start against Faker. So GBM's playing really passively. GBM also plays very passively in the laning phase, generally speaking. He's very patient as a player. So Faker doesn't expect what's about to happen right here, which is that they're actually going to come from both sides at the same time after the red buff is taken. So this is a very, very smart start from Jin Air. They have tons of hard CC. This is really good. There's almost no chance that Faker gets out of this gank because of the way that they played it. Because, okay, you can say, all right, so there's the stun into W, but if he can't flash this way, Chaser's here. Nothing he can do. He's got nowhere to go. Very, very good. And they get it onto GBM too. Very, very good timing from Jin Air. And they take red too. So they're going to 3-buff SKT. That's very, very good. Not only that, but when they get this right here, you see, so it was a blue start over here from Sejuani, and then Annie and Chaser move up to red buff right now, and so they're instantly set up to punish Marin too. Excellent start from Jin Air. It's really, really beautiful jungle pathing. You almost never see that either. This is why Chaser is really good. Jin Air just totally predicted everything that SKT was going to do. Great damage on the top lane turret. It's a good play from SKT. Chaser wasn't there. Jin Air overplayed this a bit. So Marin doesn't actually TP right here, and Chaser will recall. Chaser probably should have just attacked the turret. Yeah, probably should have just kept pushing. Actually, he doesn't need to be on the map right now. You can see how far back Trace is playing. So would have been better just for him to stick around and make a play onto the tower. And just stuck around up there. So that's a bit of a mistake. If Jin Air needs to make a decision, they're either going to start autoing. This is a split decision. They have to keep doing this, or if they want to do this, Chaser has to stay. If Chaser's going to go back, they can't keep putting on this pressure, and that's what costs them. They don't know where Sejuani or Thresh are right now, and they don't have good wards. Yeah, I was dumb. So right now, with GBM approaching 6, they need to start thinking about what they're going to do with this level 6 on Karthus and who they're going to try and put pressure on. It would be better if Chaser hits 6, though, before they used Requiem, because then if Marin's ult is down, then he can't get out of Cataclysm. Yeah, Jin Air missed a chance to snowball this because they could have gotten that tower, or at least not died in that pressure. So that's a bit of an error, actually. They had a really good advantage going off of those early kills, and then they botched it. So they swap back into the dual lane, presumably. So why Jin Air does this is they want to start attempting to get kills with Karthus 6. And you want the dual lane on the bottom, so if you do get a kill, you can just transition right into drag. Really poor mistake there from SKT.
Another auto on the pilot.
Really greedy right there. GBM also had his ult up, and you have to remember that there's no way for Faker to interrupt Marcus. So I think that was not a good move to try and attack that right there, especially Tyler was already 6
That was really bad. They had no idea where Chaser was. Requiem was up. Vlad doesn't have any interrupts on the Requiem, so there's like a 0% chance you actually succeed in that attempt to get a kill. Even if you kill Annie, it's 1-for-1 at best.
Dragon and taken by Jin Air. They're going to turn on to Benki now. Faker getting exhausted, but he's going to come in anyway. GBM very, very low, but he's cardless. It's okay. So doing damage, flashes ahead for a little bit more. Benki goes down. That's 2 kills for Jin Air. Now
SKT should not be contesting this at all.
Bang afterwards. He flashes away just in case.
They're still going to go, though.
Yeah, they're going to die. If there's a stun on the Bang, actually, Jay may have wanted
Okay, Flay's down.
that, but I think they're still not going to die that quite yet.
Bottle him up right.
I have no idea why Trace did this. This is so bad. He dies for no reason.
Trace, what are you doing, buddy? Going in way too early. That cost Jin Air a couple kills right there.
They had members of SKT dead. All they had to do was wait for the wave. That is such a dumb thing to do.
Trace just getting a little bit overeager.
They just had to wait for the wave.
Yep, they don't get the turret, they don't get the kills. Huge mistake by Trace there.
Jin Air has made some very smart plays this game and some very dumb plays at the same time.
Lauren's going to get some time to proxy farm under the turret. He's up 20 CS as a result. And that tower taking a ton of damage in the top side.
Pretty massive error by Trace in the bot lane. Wow, a little bit of miscommunication for Jin Air. Costs them big time.
That's really surprising that they could do that after they already picked up those kills right around the dragon.
It's not something that
So Dragon goes down. Really, they should not be trying to do this. I mean, Wolf is back, but Trace just TPs right into the back right here.
Play them as long as possible, but
It's a really good TP. Great location. Bengi ults Chaser and Pod. That's a good ult, actually, but you turn on to GBM. Faker's there trying to get in the middle of everything, but he just gets stunned
surprisingly long.
and dies, and then the Requiem comes in.
Bang, and they'll force one out of Bang as well with the Requiem. He gets a bit too low.
Look at this. He just has to stand here. What's the worst thing that could happen? I guess Hecarim, like, TPs, but you can see that Hecarim's just proxy farming. He's not going to come in. He's also just face tanking a bunch of minion damage right now.
the wave was coming. Trace just decides to twist the advance in there.
There's no Annie ult. Annie doesn't have flash to follow up on that stun.
Suckers for that too.
Oh, God.
Didn't really know what was going on right there.
Miscommunication. Oh, Faker slowed down with that wall of pain. He's going to pop the Hemo Plague anyway. Might be in trouble. There's a Cataclysm. Yeah, Faker, he's not getting out of that. There's a kill for GBM.
That's a really good gank, though.
Hard on this card.
They knew all the Fakers, summoners were down, so it's like a guaranteed kill with Jarvan there as long as you get that gank.
It's like Vlad versus Sarah. There's nothing you can do. And yeah, and you only have that single target too. The problem is it's even worse with Vlad because at least with Sarah, you can do some blind damage or you can shoot outside of the pit. But basically with Vlad, if you just stand far enough away and poke Vlad while he's in there, all he could do is use transfusion, and that is awful.
Yep. No CC to speak of. Pretty rough. But amazing
I think Chaser's smart to go Cinder this game. That was one of the issues last game on his Rek'Sai, was he went Warrior Enchant instead of Cinder Hulk.
Kalista also, reasons why she had tier 2 boots is she needs those to jump out of castles and she doesn't have flash.
Oh yeah.
You actually have to have tier 2 boots to jump down the wall.
That is true. Jin Air, chance here. Although it is still a fairly close game.
Being as annoying as possible. This is really smart of Mara. If he wants to just drive pressure into the top lane, if he dies right now, it's not that big of a deal. He has teleport up and immediately get back to the lane. So
He's got the huge lead too.
Martin's such a good pressure player. That's why he's so good at Hecarim. He knows that he just creates this immense pressure on the map when he plays, and you have to deal with him, otherwise you just get so screwed.
Works. Coming down. You need to be so careful. They know a bunch of there we go. Sentinel coming
it's
in.
not going to see them. It's not going to see them.
Oh, it sees Chaser.
They walked out of the brush.
They wouldn't have been seen by that Sentinel, because if you go back and look at it,
Walked out of the brush.
if we watch it when it turns around,
It's not going to see them. It's not.
Chaser hadn't walked out of the brush. Watch, watch.
Walked out of the
See? Here's the edge of the radius. If they had all been standing here,
brush.
Sentinel wouldn't have seen him.
Well, nice try.
I think actually they could have avoided being seen if they hadn't walked out of the brush. They could have actually, I think, squeezed around the side of the vision.
Dragon in 40 seconds now. First one did go to Jin Air. So will SKT be able to, SK Telecom be able to set up another team fight to pass this one?
Jin Air deciding to go for double rod of Aegis this game, so a lot of stacking. They really have changed their tactics.
So I talked to,
You can make
I talked to,
Shadows taking a flash out of Trace.
oh, this is where Trace made some very good plays this game, and then he made some really dumb plays. He just walks forward right here. He just used his flash.
Yeah, I mean, look at this Banky coming behind.
It's like a free kill.
What Trace is thinking here. I think he's going to make it out of this one. Twisted advance back onto Mara and Mara.
Oh my god.
They should be able to focus him down, and this is right before Dragon. Dragon is up.
It's a really bad Karthus ult,
Not
too.
quite. GBM and the rest of Jin Air, though, able to claim that Dragon.
At the very least, they got the dragon out of it. So it could have been worse. At least they trade something. But Martin didn't have to die right there, and they still could have gotten dragon. So, oh,
Oh, stun on the bank.
great gank.
Completely caught. There's a cataclysm. Flashes away. It's not enough. Wolf on the run now, and Jin Air.
Great gank. Do they have vision of that?
So SKT did end up trading a kill in the top lane for
What?
the Dragon.
You have teleport still, so it's not the end of the world.
Oh, that ward came down later. The ward right here just came down, so they didn't know they were in try. That was clever by Jin Air.
Flashes away. It's not enough. Wolf on the run now, and Jin Air
So,
a little bit too dangerous to follow that one.
I was talking to Dongjun, who's the Korean analyst, and I didn't notice this during the game, but he made a really good point to me when I chatted with him afterwards, which is going Zhonya's second here on Karthus was actually a really bad idea. And the reason why is because it doesn't matter if GBM dies or not. He just needs Death Cap to do as much damage as possible, because if we watch some of these later team fights, he just doesn't do enough damage because of that. And him Zhonya, when his Defile isn't doing damage, him using Zhonya as while Defile's going down really doesn't do anything. Whereas if he had a bigger Requiem, he probably would have picked up a lot of kills in these fights. So we'll look for that. Because there were several fights that SKT escaped with very, very little HP in this game. And after GBM Requiems, and he just like barely doesn't kill people.
Light while they were doing it too meant that everybody was chunked, so any fight that comes out of that is very difficult.
It's true.
Martin's low enough, so Trace takes the hit for the team. But Trace doesn't have to worry so much about being behind.
Would be a big tank late game. Nothing's really going to stop that from happening. But can SKT, risk any more dragons going to Jin Air? I feel like it's when you hit 3 stacks, that's when it starts to get a little bit iffy. In that you're going to be fairly close to
So finally they're going to get the top tier 1.
Take another outer. No defense on the bottom side. Trace really being very conservative with his teleport usage this game.
He's going to trade turrets again, so now it's 2-2.
Trace is really worried he's going to get dove. He thinks he's going to get dove every
Oh,
time.
flash on Amar, and there's the stun. There's the Cataclysm. They caught him at the end of his ult, but here comes Faker to turn this one around. They still got the kill on Amar, but Faker going deep. Can they get the damage? There's the stun coming in from Jay again. He flashes ahead, can't get it. Double kill now for
Turning it
Pilot.
around.
Meanwhile, Wolf in big trouble underneath the turret. Jin Air's not done yet. There's the box. Not going to stop it.
Okay, let's watch how that got set up. Okay, so
Quick push for Jin Air.
so they still have what's going on right now is these guys want to trade for tier 1, right? And there's still a big wave up at the top lane. Now look what Trace is doing. He's waiting to react to see what goes on in the top side because they're already look how forward thinking this is. They're already trying to dive here because they know there are 2 people on the bottom side, so they can instantly have a 4v3,
No defense on the bottom side. Trace really being
right?
conservative.
So Mara's going to try recalling, and he's going to think, no, there's a big wave right here. Trace is not showing himself at all. He's not walking up here. He's just waiting to make the play while the rest of his team sets up. They don't have Requiem right now, but that's okay. Because Pilot has Infinity Edge, and Marin has no armor. None of them have armor. This is a really good situation. None of them have armor. Bengi is going for Aegis,
Trace is really good.
and Faker's going for Spirit Visage. So this guy is so powerful. So Faker reacts to come to topside because they have an inkling of what's about to come, and Wolf is backing. So they go on to Marin. Wolf is just starting to recall right now.
Oh, flash on Amar. There's the stun. There's the Cataclysm. They caught him. To the enemy. There's ult.
Pilot's going to turn around and pick up the kill. So he's pretty far forward right now, but Faker really doesn't do damage. He only has Woda for damage. And Faker should not have pursued this. There's no support. Bengi's in mid lane. GBM is walking up to them, and Trace has TP. This is not good play from Faker. He has no damage right now, pretty much.
Faker going deep.
And he's just going to get stunned. And then look at this. TP right to the minion wave. Wolf should just not even try to deal with this situation. And Bengi's going to react late. Honestly, Bengi probably would have just been... Well, there's no minion wave for him to push, actually. Then he flashes for it. Just really bad flag play from Faker.
Meanwhile, Wolf in big trouble underneath the turret.
They made it so easy for Jin Air. But the play was well set up from Jin Air.
Turret going to Jin Air. That was a pretty big mistake for Faker to follow that one, it looks like.
Well, he just doesn't have that damage yet, and the turnaround was so good from Jin Air, hiding out beautifully on that
Have
engage.
Requiem for that, too.
No, they didn't need it. GBL was there at the right time. Look how many wards are in topside as well. Jin Air absolutely lighting up the jungle. They'll take a tier 2 as a result.
This is a very cute counterplay from SKT, though.
Or maybe there's an ult. Marin
That's really good from SKT.
Lighting up the jungle beautifully on that
have
engage.
Requiem for that, too.
So they're backing,
GBL was there at the right time. Look how many wards are in topside as well.
and they back in a ward. Oh, man. Che should have swept. Look at this. You gotta sweep that.
Lighting up the jungle. They'll take a tier 2 as a result.
There he goes.
Or maybe there's an
That's a
ult.
great ult, too.
Marin coming in over the top. A lot of damage on the Pilot. A lot of damage on the Jay, but look at all that burst GBM.
Well, that was a favorable trade for them at the very least.
They got the bot lane GBM quite able to lost Marin again.
That was a good response.
One for team.
For SK Telecom. GBM really scary right now. 4-1-2 at Harvest by 18 minutes. He goes back, picks up, completes his.
So they actually made something out of that in the end. SKT did. And if you're... The thing is, what's great, what's the best part about League of Legends is there's always like plays and counterplays. So because Faker went in and was so aggressive and got a lot of that damage down. Remember, he got a lot of damage down on Pilot. Pilot only has a little bit of lifesteal right now, so he couldn't really heal up off of that. So because of that play, there was a counterplay to be made. So when you make it, this is a great example of SKT. They made an aggressive decision, but it didn't work, right? It wasn't ideal. But at the same time, they continued with the through line of making that aggressive decision by making another aggressive decision, which followed up on the first one in order to actually turn that around a little bit. So I like SKT's commitment to that decision, because usually teams will just pussy out and not commit, but the commitment to that decision was really good. They realized that there was a possible counterplay to make right there.
Ambitious. It's an ambitious attempt, but not going to land that death sentence.
No TP's up, and Trace is here. Martin is still top, actually taking drugs right now.
Bank picked up a quick silver sash as well, too, so.
And he's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
He's useless.
I guess so. I suppose you need it against Annie. You need it against Maokai, I suppose, theoretically as well, too. But
yeah, well, they don't even have to focus him right now. Honestly, yeah. Jin Air's now in a particularly good position because Hecarim's still pretty squishy.
You'd think that Bank would just be going for more damage.
Okay, you have QSS, but Graves can just unload collateral damage on your team, and he's going to do way more than Bank will. Bank QSS.
Now we're just waiting for the next dragon to set up.
Baker also went Spirit Visage over going for Sonya's. Not sure I agree with that either. Yeah, his sustain's going to be good. So SKT basically saying that they want to outlast...
SKT is going to have a hard time fighting this. Trace is already there. They have the position on the dragon, and Marin... he got the wave far enough up. So they have a good flank, actually. Oh, that's right. This is the fight where Chaser ults his own team. Oh, man. It's really a rare mistake for Chaser to make. And then look at this. Then they get stuck in the pit with a Hecarim with Rampage and Faker just sitting there in pool and using Tides of Blood. That's so bad. Oh, my. Jeez.
Still full health, and SKT is going to win this team fight, or they might pay for it. Requiem.
So here's the point where if he had Death Cap, Wolf would probably be dead as well.
Only gets GBM 1 kill, and that is an ace for 2.
So Chaser really messed up that fight. Actually, we're gonna go back and take a look at that in slow motion because it's really interesting. So Marin gets a free ticket into the back line too. Let's look at what's up. So pretty much all the summoners except for Flash. I mean, obviously TP doesn't matter if you're Flash, Flash down, Flash, Flash down. Okay, so we're pretty much in the very similar situation. All right. Alright, so they're going to do this dragon. They have this warded, but Trace is not really jockeying for position right here. Where is he going? This is a miscommunication. Trace is walking back here, I guess, to deal with Marin, but Che is flashing forward at the same time. So that's going to get two of them ulted by Bengi.
There we go.
Che did not use Tibbers right there. He just used Q or W. I think it was W that stunned. So he doesn't have the Tibbers up anymore. This is Bang up here, and this is Vlad. So he gets a 3-man Hemoplague off, and Trace starts to zone, right? So Marin's, this is a great ult. Oh, he doesn't actually hit anybody. But in theory it was a great ult. But it's because Chaser jumps out right there. Che never even drops Tibbers. That's huge. And then Chaser ults Bengi. Did he ult Bengi to get out of... Did he ult Bengi to get out... how did he get out of the Hecarim ult is the question.
There we go. Ult from Bengi. Can they fall?
Oh. Pilot just dodges it. So GBM and Pilot dodged the Hecarim ultimate, but Hecarim's still in the back line. Che is here. I'm trying to figure out where everybody is in this mess. I think... Okay, so Trace must be in Twisted Advance. I think he's invisible right now. And GBM's doing... This is the proper positioning for Karthus. You want to control the choke and split up the team. But Chaser needs to get over this wall. Oh, he ults... This is so bad. How did Trace... Trace must have followed Bengi. He Twisted Advanced Bengi. Yeah, you can't do that. He just needed to block this off with GBM. Man, anything would have been better than this ultimate for Chaser. He could have ulted Faker.
There we go. Ult from Bengi. Can they follow it up?
Oh man, that Twisted Advance, Bengi Arctic Assault, so he pulled Trace into the pit. And then everybody just blows all their cooldowns on Bengi after Bengi's used his ultimate. No Tibbers. I think GBM's the only one who's doing the right thing in this team fight. Pilot is too, actually. Pilot, this is good positioning for Pilot. He wants to be in the back while GBM is zoning them out. Well, look at this. Holy cow, this is so good for SKT. Oh my, oh god. Jeez. Jin Air actually had a really good position on that. Marin did a good job of flanking, but... Chaser's ultimate was so bad. When does GBM use Zonia's? Yeah, see, the Zonia's doesn't really do much. I mean, it zoned him out a little bit, I guess, but if he was dead, he would still be zoning them out. Because his position was good. So even if he had died earlier in that, he still would have provided... Because the only thing he did after that was run away and die. So the Zonia's wasn't doing anything there, really. Death Cap definitely better for that fight.
They get the Descendants onto GBM. That allows for the disengage. So SKT not getting the blue buff, but they do make it out.
And he didn't zone you the Hemoplate popping. I saw the damage go down. Pretty sure. Oh, he did. You're right. He did. But again, it doesn't matter if he does that. In fact, think of it this way. If he hadn't Zonias and had died right there, he would have actually clogged that choke for even longer, and it would have been better. He should have just died. He should have Zonias and just died right there. He shouldn't have even tried to leave.
Barely did. I think they used Summer Kill, actually. Oh, yeah, could be. Meanwhile, a little bit of a fight near this blue buff barn. A little bit of trouble. They get the Descendants onto GBM. That allows for the disengage. So SKT not getting the blue buff, but they do make it out with their life.
Yeah, I think this Zonia's bar was really bad.
That gave Bang a lot of gold. He's got his static shift done now. A little bit more damage. Still not that much. But still, I mean, if you can have a fight like that, he was untouched in that fight, I guess. Yep. Well, that's just what SKT is going to have to try to keep that out. Right? They need to recruit Chaser. Came over to the dark side that last fight. See what happens. They were able to get quite a boost as well, too. Still an extremely close game.
Yeah, it's scary that Jin Air is only a little bit behind, but man, Chaser's ult. In spite of all the other problems, I think Chaser just ults literally anywhere but where he did, and that's a easily one team fight from Jin Air. The fact that Trace got bottled up and everybody was in the pit was just awful. Trace shouldn't have twisted advanced onto Bengi either. That was super dumb. He should have known that Bengi was going to go over that wall and just provided a front line. Because Bengi didn't have an ult. Pilot could have just killed him in the pit as long as Jarvan, Maokai, and Karthus were zoning at the choke. Then they could have cleaned up. This game has been pretty sloppy from both teams. It's not as good as Game 1 was. See, this is the thing about what SKT is doing in this series. They're just picking for tankiness. They're just building tankiness. Last game was Faker, Rod into Seraphs, into Leandries. This game, Woda into Spirit Visage. He's just building for sustain. And same thing with Bang. Static Shiv is going to proc multiple times in a team fight as long as he stays up with the Bloodthirster first. So it's relatively low damage, but they're just impossible to kill. And this Graves just isn't going to do enough. And GBM has pretty constant DPS, but they're not, the sustain is too good. Oh my. Okay, why does Chaser keep walking right here? He knows. Holy cow. Oh, good job. You got the ward in the brush. You found them. It's a great death sentence. After the max range, it hit max range, so we only got slowed. So they start TPing in right away.
This could be bad.
Okay, so GBM uses Zonia's. But they're... It looks like they're out of Defile range. It looks like Bengi wasn't.
A lot of damage.
Look at that. This is so good from Faker.
Zin tries to get the sun off Baker.
Oh, jeez. He gets all up in their backline.
Very low health. Oh, flash death sentence for Wolf, and that's going to be a kill onto the AD carry of Jin Air. Meanwhile,
Oh, they just face checked the shit out of that.
throws the ult.
So they have a ward in here. But they're not all doing the same thing. Okay, so if you're Jin Air, what you should be doing is you walk into this brush, you're like, Chaser's afraid because his Raptor buff got triggered. Or did he use... He may have used Oracles. Like, it looks like he used Oracle's lens. So he sees the pink word. They see this. Just push mid. Who cares if they're sitting right here? They're worried about them doing Baron. I suppose if they're worried about them doing Baron, then it does change things a little bit. Oh my. Okay, so let's think about this differently. Okay? You know Marin's down here. Both top laners have TP. Chaser gets the ward down. He should just go in, actually. If he ults right now, holy cow. The follow-up from Annie's stun. But he runs away. Why is he running away? There's Sejuani ult used. Turn around and just screw them up. Oh, Chaser did not have a good game. Jin Air, this is the second game in a row where they just need to pull the trigger. They have to be more aggressive and decisive. Because it's totally screwed them 2 games now. Oh, now he doesn't even knock anybody up with his EQ. And Faker gets a really good flash into the back line. And look at this. Marin just TPs to the turret. And then just runs straight into the back line where Faker already is. I mean, this is really good positioning from Faker. But what do? You have Box here, you have Faker here, and you have Marin who's charging in here. They're just totally screwed. And look at Bang's positioning too. They have a ward here so they can see absolutely everything that's going on. The Jin Air did not sweep this brush. Oh man. Ow. And he's just slowing everybody right here with Pool. Watch this. Watch this play from Wolf. This is super sick. Oh! That's a great play.
Meanwhile, Trace alone in the back lines with the rest of SKT, and they are going to win another.
So I understand why Jin Air did that. It was right of them to be worried about what was going on. But look, this is again, Trace is set up. Look how far back he's playing. He knows. They're even pinging this brush right now. He knows that he may need to teleport immediately. But Chaser should just ult them. And honestly, Trace should just TP right now onto this ward. If he TPs right here, then they collapse perfectly on it. Because, oh man, that ult didn't stun. Look at this. Oh, EQ. Cataclysm. Oh my god, Jin Air. That's an easy team fight win. This is a bad location to TP. He tried to ult Marin, but Marin was ulting. So he didn't get him, but he bottled up Trace again. Oh my god. Chaser, please. You're so good. Why do you do this?
The fight, Cataclysm canceled immediately. Pilot, very low health. Oh, flash that sentence for Wolf, and that's going to be a kill onto the AD carry of Jin Air. Meanwhile, Trace alone in the back lines with the rest of SKT, and they are going to win another team fight. No kills from that Requiem. SKT getting farther ahead.
Yeah, so close, Benki and Wolf to going down, but the cleanup was great. Wolf hit a great death sentence right there to turn it around, and now
A couple of them, actually.
SK Telecom coming in for this Baron. Jay up, back up right now, but Trace a long time down, no TP. Faker just pushing the lane, making sure his team can get the Baron. And they're going to get him.
They will, and they're not going to kill Faker either.
That's pretty much it.
Here we go.
Oh man, Jin Air, you have 3 dragons. They need to be more decisive. Sometimes you just have to go in on that. Chaser had Chaser had an insane angle. Okay, oh, he used his standard to check the pink brush? Well, fine, he can still ult them.
Now they're going to get that first dragon and get that big damage boost at this point in the game. 6% AD and AP is a lot when you're 27 minutes in. So SKT with a team fight win, a Baron, and that first dragon.
Now,
Huge boost.
fortunately for Jin Air, SKT's composition is really tough. So they can hold on here. The wave clears through.
True.
So split push with that Ripple, they have to be the most concerned.
And losing
Man, Marn is so far ahead. Marn did a really good job of proxy farming and pushing his advantage this game.
really strong on this Hecarim right now.
Marn's a great Hecarim player.
He's completed 3-4 items, 2 for 1.
Yep. Well, SKT is just going to walk right up and take this mid lane turret, it looks like. Who's the lantern for? Nobody.
Sweet shields. And that's the 1-3-1. Of course, Vlad next to the pusher as well. So SK Telecom definitely playing this out correctly.
So imagine right now if GBM's item build was Rod, Deathcap, Void Staff instead. It'd be so much better.
Blue buff too.
Vlad is such a terror in terms of split pushing the lane game.
He has no pen against Locket, Double Spirit Visage, QSS. It's terrible.
Just mechanically, he's done a lot of this water here. Not the best KDA, but
GBM is actually doing no damage right now.
I see that team fight again.
I don't know if we're going to get a chance. I wish we could too, Monty. Makes me sad.
I hate to see it, so don't lie like that way. Besides the hook coming in at the early thing as well, and follow up on Wolf.
But in spite of the mistakes that Jin Air has made, you really have to emphasize how effective this style of team composition is from SKT, just like we saw in the last game. The fact that they could fall behind so early and are still, I mean, they crushed that last team fight. It wasn't even close. And it was a 5v5. You would think that with Jin Air, especially with this Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, you have that, at the time, much more damage coming out of Pilot, that you wouldn't be able to win that hard. And Karthus got a bunch of kills early too. And yeah, Karthus' item build is not great, but at the same time, the itemization from SKT is so good on this patch that it's causing Karthus to do no damage. SKT has got this shit figured out, man. This is what 5.5 is supposed to be. Right here. This is awesome. This is so good. They're the first team to actually figure it out.
But when it's one best of 3, it's a little bit tougher. Onslaught of Shadows uses going on to Trace here. Trace uses the ultimate. Shay coming in. I don't think Martin's going to be able to get a kill off of this one. Not quite, but it's a split push pressure. Yep. They're worried about it. You know, I think what this does, though, is just really solidify our top 3, right? And maybe even our top 4. Jin Air looks better than CJ. SKT looks better than Jin Air and GE. You know, at this point, it's actually kind of tough to tell, in my opinion, where they stand with SKT. But we do know that Jin Air, I think, is
I think one of the major issues on Jin Air is that Che and Chaser are not on the same page when it comes to engaging. We've seen that a couple of times now, where they really need to coordinate their engage better. And if they could get better at that, I think that Jin Air becomes a much better team almost instantly.
Looks like the GDC Jin Air playing well, just barely not enough.
Yep, indeed. Well, SKT playing a little bit of a waiting game right here because of that early dragon.
Makes you wonder what would happen if they played XD more. Maybe like XD and Chaser have better engage synergy. Or Chaser just seems to be much more conservative in his engaging, and Che wants to go in with Tibbers. But that's a communication and synergy issue. Just from looking at these games more in depth, though, on how Jin Air is engaging.
Besides what he's got in Roots and Masters.
Everybody on SKT right now having a good amount of magic resistance.
Good builds from SKT. Yep. And Baker coming into this series and just building very defensive items for the most part. Showing the power of these grinding team compositions and taking advantage of the tankiness of the current meta.
Well, SKT is just so scary. I mean, they seem to have transitioned so seamlessly into 5.5 that
This is kind of what I expected.
yeah, you really gotta wonder if it's going to be SKT winning the finals this season. I mean, we're not even in the playoffs yet, but this is the way things are going.
Such a good meta from their play style.
Oh yeah. Right, Howard. Well,
So at this point, SKT pretty much has the game. I mean, we don't really need to watch this. It's 11K. But just thinking about this, because yes, SKT has played this game a little bit better after Jin Air's advantage, but I mean, Jin Air was up in the early game again. They had an advantage and it was even. And we're looking at 32 minutes into this game, and all of a sudden it's SKT with 11K gold lead. This is because of their builds and their composition, almost entirely. Because even though Jin Air has made mistakes in team fights, the massive gold swing, because if we look at the power spikes, like once they got about 3 core items, they were just able to just so easily handle these team fights, even though Faker has not had a good game on Vlad. This composition is just absolutely destroying this one in the current meta with the itemization that they've done. SKT is really again, they've really figured this out. This is why I wanted to watch this game, because the transition is just so sudden from not that much of a lead to 11K at 32 minutes. And that's all about this tankiness power spike. Once you get the Cinder Hulk, once you start building some more of these tanky items, they can't kill these guys anymore. And it doesn't matter that they're doing very little damage, you just wear them down eventually with enough crowd control and just small amounts of sustained damage. And they have these lifesteal tanks with Vlad and Kalista. Kalista's build is super tanky. It was second or third item QSS. Yeah, I think it was Bloodthirster, Avarice, QSS, Shiv. And then the Last Whisper, and then the Scimitar. SKT really did a good job. This is so strong. Okay, I'm glad I went back and reviewed these games, because now I have a better idea about why SKT and how they were able to get these large leads very suddenly. And Pilot, even though he did well, Graves is not the right champion to deal with this. The burstiness doesn't matter. I already did C9 versus TSM. I can't do that game. Oh no, I did C9 CLG.